The moon hung high that night, cold and silver, as if it were mocking me. My wolf had been restless all day, its heartbeat sinking with a strange pull that grew stronger with every passing hour. "He's near," my wolf whispered, excitement blooming in my chest. I had waited for this moment my entire life, the day my mate would find me. I imagined warmth, love, the bond that legends spoke about. But when I finally stood before him under the moonlight, everything inside me shattered. It was him, the future alpha, powerful, magnetic. His scent hit me like lightning, awakening the mate bond so fiercely my knees trembled. His stormy gray eyes widened for just a moment, before they turned to ice. "No," he said flatly, "I reject you." The words didn't just cut, they burned. My wolf whimpered, clawing at my chest as if trying to hold the bond together. You can't," I stammered, my voice breaking. "We're fated." He stepped closer, his voice sharp as a blade. "I will never claim someone like you, weak, useless. You'll never be my Luna." Each word was a dagger, twisted with cruelty. The pack members who had gathered snickered, their whispers like venom. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I wanted to scream, to fight, but all I could do was watch him walk away, leaving me trembling in the cold. That night, something inside me broke. The mate bond snapped with a pain I didn't know was possible. I collapsed to my knees under the stars, tears streaming down my face, wondering why the moon goddess had cursed me with him. Little did I know, his rejection wasn't the end. It was only the beginning, the night the Alpha King's eyes would fall on me, and my fate would take a dark, forbidden turn. When the mate bond shattered, it wasn't just pain, it was annihilation. It felt as though my soul was ripped apart and left to bleed under the cold moonlight. I woke the next morning numb, my eyes swollen from a night of endless sobs. My wolf barely stirred inside me. The rejection had wounded her too. Every sound, every scent reminded me of him, of what I had lost before I even had a chance to hold it. The pack looked at me with pity, or worse, amusement. Whispers followed wherever I walked. The rejected girl, the weak one, the future no one wanted. Their words dug into my skin like claws, but I didn't fight back. I had nothing left to fight with. Days blurred into nights. I stopped eating. I stopped talking. I stopped living. The rejection wasn't just a broken heart. It was a slow death. But fate wasn't finished with me. One evening, as the pack gathered for the full moon run, I sat alone at the edge of the woods, hiding from their laughter. That's when I felt it. An unfamiliar, powerful presence. The hairs on my arms stood on end as a deep, commanding voice broke through the darkness. "Why is the little wolf crying alone?" I froze. The voice was rich, deep, carrying an authority that sent shivers down my spine. When I turned, I didn't see a boy. I saw a man, a king. Tall, broad-shouldered, his dark cloak flowing in the wind, his golden eyes glowed like fire in the moonlight. Power radiated off him in waves. My wolf stirred weakly inside me for the first time in days. I didn't know it then, but the Alpha King had found me. And my story, the one I thought had ended with rejection, was just beginning. The night of my rejection replayed like a curse that wouldn't let me breathe. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard his voice. Sharp, cold, merciless. "You're not worthy of me. I'd rather die than claim you." Those words burned deeper than the snap of our bond. They carved scars where my heart used to be. I could still see his face twisted with disdain, the disgust in his eyes as though I was something beneath him. Each cruel sentence he hurled at me that night haunted my every step. "No one could ever love someone as weak as you. You're just a burden, not a mate." And the pack heard it all. They didn't shield their ears. They didn't protect me. They just watched and whispered as I crumbled. Even now, days later, I couldn't walk through the pack grounds without hearing those echoes. Even when no one spoke, his voice lived inside me like a venomous ghost. It was a pain I thought I'd never escape. But that night, under the pale moon, I felt it again. The powerful presence I had sensed before. A deep, commanding aura swept over the woods, silencing even my pain for a moment. Then came the same voice I'd heard that night in the clearing, deep, rich, and unlike any other. "Tell me, little wolf, who made you cry?" I turned slowly, my tears reflecting the golden glow of his eyes. The Alpha King stood before me, closer this time, his gaze burning through me like he already knew the answer. For the first time since my bond broke, I felt something other than pain. I felt fear, and a strange, dangerous pull I couldn't name. I didn't know it yet, but those cruel words that haunted me had set fate into motion, and the one man powerful enough to shatter that curse stood before me, my mate's father. After my mate's rejection, the world turned its back on me. Every corner of the pack grounds whispered my shame. Every pair of eyes looked at me with either pity or disgust. No one dared speak to me. No one dared comfort me, because in their eyes, I was cursed. I had no bond, no protector, no purpose. The one fate had chosen for me had thrown me away like I was nothing, and the pack followed his lead. Wolves I once called friends crossed the street when they saw me. Mothers pulled their pups closer, as if I carried a disease that could infect them too. The nights were the worst. I slept alone in the tiny shack at the edge of the territory, listening to the distant laughter from the pack house, the laughter of the one who rejected me. My heart shattered a little more every time I imagined him holding someone else, kissing someone else, calling her the words he denied me. I thought about leaving. I thought about running into the woods and never coming back. Maybe the rogues would take me. Maybe the moon goddess had made a mistake in tying me to someone who saw me as worthless. But I was too weak, too afraid. Then it happened again, the pull, that strange, powerful aura that wrapped around me like a storm. One night, when the moon was full, I felt it even stronger. I looked up, and there he was again, standing in the shadows of the trees, tall, commanding, his golden eyes glowing like fire. The Alpha King, my mate's father. His presence made the pack tremble, but it made my heart skip. "They hate you because they fear what they don't understand," his voice rumbled through the night. "But I see you." No one had ever said those words to me, not even my mate. I didn't know what scared me more, that the Alpha King saw me, or that for the first time in weeks I wanted to be seen. His eyes locked on mine, and the world stopped. The Alpha King didn't need to speak. His gaze said everything. Golden, burning, and ancient. Those eyes pierced through my pain, past my shame, down to the deepest part of me where my broken heart still beat. I should have been afraid. Everyone feared him. He was the strongest wolf alive, a ruler whose power stretched across packs and borders. But when his gaze fell on me, I didn't feel fear. I felt seen. "Who hurt you?" he asked, his deep voice curling around me like a forbidden caress. I opened my mouth, but no sound came. I wanted to scream my mate's name, to tell him how his son shattered me. But I couldn't speak. My lips trembled, and tears I thought had run dry slid down my cheeks. The Alpha King stepped closer, each movement full of authority, yet deliberate, as if approaching a frightened doe. "Your bond was sacred," he said, his tone low, almost dangerous. "To reject it so cruelly is a crime against the moon goddess herself." No one had defended me, not once, not even my own family. But here he stood, my mate's father, the king himself, speaking words that felt like justice and comfort all at once. For the first time since my rejection, the numbness cracked. My heart beat faster, not from the pain, but from something else. Hope. "You are not weak," he said, and I will make sure you never feel alone again." His promise terrified me, because deep down, I knew that whatever the Alpha King wanted, he would claim. And the way his gaze lingered on me, like I was the only one in the world, I knew he wanted me. The Alpha King looked at me differently than anyone ever had. Where his son saw weakness, he saw fire. Where my mate saw an outcast, the king saw a queen. When his eyes lingered on me across the great hall, I felt something dangerous awaken inside me. Not fear, not shame, but a fragile spark of worth I thought had died the moment my mate rejected me. He spoke to me like I mattered, like my heart wasn't just shattered pieces on the floor. "You are more than his cast-off," the king whispered one night when he found me crying in the moonlit gardens. "You were never meant to kneel when you were born to stand beside a throne." His words sank into my bones, warm and frightening. I wanted to deny how much they moved me, but every glance, every accidental touch made me tremble, not with fear, but with something I didn't dare name. And the worst part? The way his son, the mate who had rejected me, barely noticed me anymore. His gaze slid past me as if I were invisible. But the king? He looked at me as if I was the only star in his night sky. I should have hated him for it. I should have been ashamed that my heart pounded when he entered a room. But instead, I began to wonder, what if the moon goddess made a mistake? What if my true destiny wasn't with the boy who rejected me, but with the king who saw in me what his son never could? The Alpha King's presence wrapped around me like a storm, wild, heavy, and impossible to ignore. When he spoke, his voice carried both tenderness and dominance. He asked if I had eaten, if I slept at night, if the nightmares still haunted me. His concern felt genuine, but the way his gaze lingered on my lips sent chills down my spine. "You deserve to be whole again," he told me once, his hand hovering near my cheek but never touching. But healing doesn't mean forgetting who hurt you. I didn't know if he wanted to mend my shattered heart or if his own hunger had started to burn for me. Each glance felt like a promise and a warning at the same time. The pack whispered behind my back. They saw the way the king's eyes followed me. They felt the shift in the air when he walked into a room. Some called me shameless, others envied me, but none of them knew the war inside my chest. I still bore the scars of rejection, yet the Alpha King's attention made my pulse race. I asked myself every night, was he trying to heal me, or was he preparing to claim me for himself? And if he did, would I even resist? I never meant for it to happen. One moment, I was trembling from another nightmare, and the next, the Alpha King was there, his hand brushing away my tears. It was supposed to be comfort, just a gentle touch. But the moment his skin met mine, something ignited deep inside me. A heat I thought had died with my rejection roared back to life. His fingers lingered on my jaw, strong yet careful, like he knew I was breakable. "You're stronger than you realize," he whispered, his voice low and dangerous, carrying the kind of promise that made my heart pound. My breath caught. I knew this was wrong. He was my ex-mate's father, the king of all wolves. The very thought of wanting him should have disgusted me, but it didn't. Instead, my body leaned into his warmth, drawn to him like a moth to flame. His thumb traced my cheek, and in that touch, I felt more alive than I ever had with his son. The fire scared me as much as it thrilled me. I couldn't deny it anymore. There was something between us, something that defied the laws of the pack. And the most dangerous part? He felt it too. The Alpha King never let me out of his sight after that night. He said it was to keep me safe, from whispers, from judgment, from his son's wrath. And at first, I believed him. He placed guards at my door, escorted me everywhere, and made sure no one dared look at me with anything less than respect. But with each passing day, his protection felt heavier, like invisible shackles tightening around my heart. You don't have to follow me everywhere, I whispered one evening as he walked me to my chambers. His sharp gaze flickered to mine, unreadable. You don't understand. You're mine now. And I won't let anyone hurt you. Ever again. His words were meant to soothe, yet my chest ached with a strange fear. Because even though he wrapped me in luxury, in safety, and in tender moments that made my heart race, it felt like a cage lined with velvet. The Alpha King wanted me, yes. But did he truly love me? Or simply claim me like another jewel for his crown? And why, despite my fear, did my body still yearn for his touch? I was torn between desire and dread, and I didn't know which would destroy me first. That night, the Alpha King summoned me to his private chambers. The moon hung low, casting a silver glow through the windows, and my heart pounded like a trapped bird. I didn't know if I was walking into safety or surrender. He stood there waiting, broad-shouldered, his eyes burning with a mix of dominance and something softer, something I didn't dare name. You belong to me, he said, voice deep and final, as if declaring a law no one could defy. Before I could speak, he reached for me, tilting my chin. His touch sent shivers down my spine. No one will ever reject you again. No one will ever make you feel unworthy. From this night on, you bear my mark. The ritual fire crackled beside us. He pressed his lips against the sensitive skin of my neck, and in a heartbeat, I felt the sharp sting of his claim, the bite, the burn, the bond searing itself into my very soul. Pain and pleasure intertwined, and a tear slipped down my cheek. I wasn't sure if it was from fear, desire, or the terrifying truth that I no longer belonged to myself. When it was over, he pulled me against his chest, whispering, "Now, you are mine, forever." And as my heart raced wildly, one thought echoed louder than the rest. What would happen when his son, the mate who rejected me, found out? The moonlight poured into the grand hall as the Alpha King led me by the hand. His mark still burned on my neck, a constant reminder that I now belonged to him. Whispers filled the air. The pack watched with wide eyes, sensing a bond they could not understand or dared not question. But then I felt it, the piercing glare of the one who once called himself my mate. His jaw clenched, fists shaking at his sides, eyes glowing with pure rage. He looked at me as if I had betrayed him, as if he wasn't the one who shattered me first. The king's grip on me tightened, protective and possessive all at once. "Let him see," he whispered low, his voice a dark rumble. "Let the world see who truly claimed you." My mate's fury ignited the air like a storm about to break. "Father, what have you done?" His voice cracked between pain and wrath. "She was mine." The Alpha King stood tall, towering and unyielding. "You had your chance. You rejected her. Now she belongs to me." My heart thundered as the truth exploded before the entire pack. The mate who left me hollow now looked at me with desperation and fury, while the Alpha King, the man I never expected, held me like a treasure he would burn the world to protect. And in that moment, under the weight of both their gazes, I realized I wasn't just caught in a forbidden love. I was the spark that could ignite a war. By dawn, the entire kingdom knew. My name slithered through every corridor, every campfire, every whispered prayer. Traitor. Seductress. Queen. Some said I had bewitched the Alpha King with forbidden charms. Others claimed I was a curse sent to destroy the royal bloodline. A few, so few, called me brave, a survivor who rose from the ashes of rejection. Every stare burned, some with hatred, others with envy, but all with judgment. I felt their eyes when I walked beside the king, his hand never leaving mine, his mark glowing faintly on my neck. His son, my former mate, was nowhere to be seen. But I felt his anger in the wind, sharp and biting, promising revenge. At night, As the moon hung full and heavy, I sat by the window of the king's chambers. "Do you hear them?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "Do you hear what they call me?" The Alpha King moved behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "Let them whisper," he growled against my skin. "They will kneel when I crown you." My heart raced. Queen? His words held power and a dangerous promise. But could love born from pain and scandal ever bring peace? Or would it burn the entire pack to the ground? And as the whispers outside grew louder, one truth settled in my bones. To love the Alpha King was to become more than a mate. It was to step into the storm, or be destroyed by it. The moonlight turned his eyes to molten silver as the Alpha King stood before me, his presence filling the royal chambers like a storm. "I will give you everything," he said, his voice deep, a dangerous whisper that made my heart both tremble and ache. Power, protection, the throne itself. You will never fear again. You will never beg for love again. You will rule by my side. His hand cupped my chin, tilting my face toward him, his touch gentle, yet his gaze sharp like claws. "But there is a price," he continued. "Your heart, your loyalty, your very soul must belong to me and me alone." A chill ran through me. His love was not the tender warmth I had once dreamed of. It was wildfire, bright, consuming, dangerous. "And if I refuse?" I asked, my voice barely audible. His lips curved into a dark smile. "Then you will learn what it truly means to be rejected." Outside, I could hear the pack's whispers growing louder, their judgment still relentless. Inside, I felt torn between the memory of a bond that had already shattered and the promise of a crown that gleamed like a trap. Could I surrender my soul to him, knowing the darkness that came with his love? Or would refusing him cost me more than I could ever bear? One thing was certain. Power in the Alpha King's arms was never free. And the fire in his eyes promised that he would claim me, even if it meant burning the world to ash. He showered me with gifts no one else would dare to offer, jewels that sparkled like captured stars, silk softer than moonlight, and a throne beside his own. But with each lavish gesture came an unspoken demand: belong to me completely. At night, when his arms held me close, I felt safe, protected, desired in a way my mate never made me feel. Yet deep inside, a whisper echoed. Was this really love, or was I just another treasure for him to possess? I saw the way his eyes darkened when anyone else spoke to me. I heard the low growl in his chest if another wolf's gaze lingered too long. His love didn't just crave me, it consumed me. And still, my heart betrayed me. It skipped when he entered a room. It burned when he kissed me. I stood at the edge of a dangerous truth. Was I falling in love with the Alpha King, or was I already trapped in the sweetest cage ever built? Either way, there was no escape, because obsession, or love, he wasn't letting me go. I never thought I'd see him again, not after the day he shattered my heart and spat on our bond. But there he was, standing in the throne room, his knees bent before the Alpha King, and his eyes fixed on me. "Mate," he whispered, his voice shaking with something I couldn't name. Regret? Desire? Or just the fury of a man who realized what he had lost? He had rejected me when I needed him most, left me to bleed alone while the world mocked me, and now, after everything, he wanted me back. "I made a mistake," he said, desperation dripping from every word. "I was a fool. I should never have let you go. Please, come back to me." But the Alpha King's hand tightened around mine, his possessive aura filling the room like wildfire. His voice was low, dangerous. "She is mine now. You rejected her, and I claimed her. You have no right." My mate's eyes darkened, glowing with the raw fury of a wolf denied its mate. But beneath that rage, I saw something else, the same hunger that had once pulled me to him. My heart twisted painfully. Part of me wanted to spit in his face, to remind him of the pain he caused. Yet another part remembered what it felt like to belong to him, before everything fell apart. The king rose from his throne, pulling me close. "Choose, little wolf," he commanded, "the one who broke you, or the one who made you his queen." And in that moment, every eye in the room burned on me, waiting for the answer that would change everything. His apology was a whisper against the storm that had already consumed me. "I'm sorry," my former mate pleaded, eyes glistening. "I was blind, foolish, poisoned by pride. I should have fought for you, not against you. Please, forgive me. Come back to me." But while his words trembled with regret, the Alpha King's touch seared my skin with possession. His hand curled around my waist like a brand, his lips brushing the mark he had placed on me. Every whisper of contact sent heat spiraling through my veins. "You had your chance," the king said, his voice low, dangerous. "You threw her away like she was nothing. Now she is mine. Body, heart, and soul." The king's dominance pulsed through the room like fire, overshadowing his son's apology. And the worst part? I felt it too. This irresistible, burning pull that consumed every doubt, every shred of hesitation. My mate's jaw clenched, his wolf rising beneath his skin. "You manipulated her. You took her when she was weak." "No," the king growled, pulling me even closer, his breath hot against my neck. "I claimed her because I saw her worth. I gave her what you denied: love, protection, power." I trembled in his hold, torn between the pain of my mate's pleading eyes and the intoxicating fire of the king's claim. My heart knew what my body had already confessed. The burn of the Alpha King's touch eclipsed the warmth of any apology. And yet, I couldn't ignore the storm that loomed ahead. Two wolves wanted me, one out of regret, the other out of obsession, and both were ready to burn the world for me. The mate bond was supposed to be unbreakable, a thread of fate that tied two souls for life. I could feel it even now, a dull ache in my chest every time my former mate looked at me with those regretful eyes. His presence still called to the deepest part of me, whispering promises of what could have been. But then there was him, the Alpha King. His touch didn't feel like destiny. It felt like fire. It burned through my veins with forbidden desire, setting my body ablaze in ways I never imagined. His voice was a command and a caress, making me feel both caged and cherished. "You belong to me now," the king murmured as his fingers traced the mark on my neck. His scent wrapped around me, wild and intoxicating, as if daring the mate bond to challenge his claim. "Do you love him?" his son asked, voice trembling, as he stood before us. His words ripped through me like claws. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Did I love him? Did I love either of them? Or was I just a prisoner of fate and passion, torn between the wolf who rejected me and the king who burned me alive with every stolen touch? The room pulsed with tension, two wolves watching me, ready to tear each other apart for my heart. And there I stood, the woman caught in the middle, my soul splintered between duty and desire. For the first time, I realized the truth. No matter what choice I made, someone's heart would shatter. Maybe even my own. No coronation, no howling celebrations, no vows before the pack. The night he claimed me as his queen, there were no witnesses, only the moon, the stars, and the weight of his forbidden desire. The Alpha King took me to a hidden chamber beneath the palace, a place even his son didn't know existed. "The pack can't know. Not yet," he whispered, his golden eyes burning into mine. "They'd never accept you as my queen, not when you were once his." His words should have stung, but instead, my heart thundered with a dangerous thrill. In the shadows, he crowned me not with jewels, but with his touch. His lips traced my skin like vows etched in fire. His wolf's growl rumbled against my chest as he marked me again, stronger, deeper, a claim that no one could undo. "Say it," he demanded softly, his voice trembling between love and possession. "Say you're mine." "I'm yours," I whispered, and for the first time, I felt both terrified and powerful. But in the back of my mind, one thought echoed louder than the pounding of my heart. If the pack ever discovered this secret, would they bow before me as their queen, or tear me apart as their traitor? Whispers slithered through the palace halls like venomous snakes. They thought I couldn't hear them. Maids clutching their pearls, advisors sneering behind silk fans, warriors exchanging sharp looks. To them, I wasn't a Luna. I was a scandal. "The rejected mate who bewitched the king," they hissed. "A usurper, a wolf with no shame." Every step I took felt like walking through fire. Their judgment burned, but I held my head high, even as my heart trembled. I wasn't raised to be queen. I was forged in heartbreak, in pain, in rejection. And yet here I was, standing beside the most powerful wolf in the kingdom, wearing his invisible crown. The Alpha King's hand would sometimes brush mine in public, a fleeting, dangerous gesture. His eyes, full of possession and defiance, dared anyone to speak against us. But behind the throne, the council whispered of rebellion. His son's fury boiled in silence, and the pack, divided, waited for someone to draw first blood. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to belong. But as the moonlight streamed through the great hall that night, I realized I wasn't just fighting for love anymore. I was fighting for my life. Every time his lips touched mine, I felt the weight of a war that wasn't mine. The Alpha King kissed me with a hunger that claimed, while his son watched from the shadows with eyes full of rage and regret. It wasn't just love anymore. It was a battlefield. When his hands lingered on my skin, I could hear the growl of my former mate behind the throne room doors. When the Alpha King whispered, "You are mine," I knew his son would never forgive him. And yet, my heart trembled, because part of me still remembered what it felt like when the son's love was pure, before his cruelty shattered me. Their hatred crackled like lightning in the air. Every kiss was a challenge, every touch a declaration of war. I was no longer the broken girl left to die in the woods. I was the forbidden prize both men wanted, and I feared what they would destroy to have me. It hit me like a storm under a blood-red moon. I wasn't just loved. I wasn't just desired. I was the prize they were willing to destroy each other for. The Alpha King's eyes burned with possessive fire, calling me his queen. His son's growl echoed through the halls, a wounded mate's fury demanding what he'd thrown away. Every whispered threat, every challenge between them carried my name at its core. They weren't just fighting for love, they were fighting for dominance, for pride, for the right to claim me as theirs. And I stood in the center of their war, torn between the bond fate gave me and the forbidden passion I never asked for. Would I be their salvation, or the spark that burned the entire pack to ashes? Jealousy isn't just an emotion in a werewolf's heart, it's a weapon. That night, my mate's rage finally exploded. He stormed into the pack grounds like a feral beast, eyes glowing, his wolf unleashed. Every male who looked my way felt his wrath. Every guard loyal to his father paid in blood for his humiliation. I heard the roars, the clash of fangs and claws under the cold moonlight. The scent of iron filled the air as screams echoed through the night. This wasn't love anymore. This was war. And in the center of it I stood trembling, my heart torn between guilt and terror. His jealousy wasn't about winning me back. It was about proving he would rather destroy the pack than see me with his father. Would the Alpha King strike his own son down to protect me? Or would my presence spark a war that none of us could survive? At first, the Alpha King's love felt like a shield, warm, protective, almost divine. But the deeper I fell into his world, the more I realized his love came with chains I could not see until they tightened. Every day, his eyes lingered longer, his touch claimed more. He no longer spoke of love, he spoke of ownership. Guards followed me everywhere. He forbade me from leaving his side, from even glancing at another wolf. What had begun as salvation after my mate's rejection was turning into captivity. His obsession wasn't soft anymore. It was fierce, hungry, and possessive. At night, he whispered vows of forever, but his tone sounded more like a warning than a promise. And deep inside, a question gnawed at my soul. Had I escaped one prison only to fall into another? There were moments when the Alpha King's eyes softened, moments that made my heart ache with longing. When his fingers brushed my cheek, I felt cared for, cherished even. His voice would lower, almost trembling as if he feared losing me. But then, in the same breath, I saw it, the madness lurking behind the tenderness, a hunger that went beyond love, a need to own me so completely that no one, not even his own son, could ever touch my heart again. He kissed me like I was his salvation and gripped me like I was his prisoner. And I didn't know whether to run or surrender. How could one man carry such gentleness and such darkness at the same time? That night, as his gaze lingered on me under the silver moon, I finally understood. He loved me. But his love could destroy us all. When my former mate returned, his eyes no longer held regret. They burned with vengeance. He didn't come to win me back. He came to take me from the Alpha King, no matter the cost. He snarled at his father, his voice echoing through the pack halls. You stole what was mine. If I can't have her, no one will. But I saw something even more terrifying than his rage. His pain had turned into a darkness that cared nothing for me. Not truly. To him, I was a symbol of betrayal, not a woman to be loved. I stood trembling between them, the two most powerful wolves in the kingdom, knowing that if this war ignited, I would be the one consumed by its flames. That night, I realized love wasn't what either of them was fighting for. It was pride, possession, and revenge, and I was the prize they were willing to burn the world for. The moonlight crept through the palace windows, casting long shadows across the throne room, where my fate felt sealed. I was no longer just a rejected mate. I was a queen bound by chains I couldn't see, but could feel deep in my soul. The Alpha King's love burned hot and consuming, a fire that promised protection and power. His kisses tasted like dominance. His arms felt like an unbreakable cage. He gave me a crown, but it came with invisible shackles, his claim on my body, my heart, and even my freedom. Yet, in the darkest corners of my mind, my former mate's pull still lingered. The bond wasn't dead. It throbbed like an open wound, whispering memories of what should have been. Love, lust, power. Three forces warring inside me, none of them gentle. If I stayed with the king, I risked losing myself to his obsession. If I went back to my mate, I risked being devoured by his vengeance. And if I chose no one, the pack would tear me apart as a traitor to both. That night, I realized the cruelest prison wasn't the Alpha King's palace. It was the war inside my own heart. The palace walls trembled that night, not from a storm, but from the roar of two alphas whose bloodline was now at war. My former mate stormed into the throne room, his eyes wild with rage, the bond between us blazing like fire and ice. I will not let you keep her, he snarled, claws unsheathing, his wolf barely restrained. The Alpha King rose slowly from his throne, his gaze calm but lethal. You lost her the moment you cast her aside. She is mine now, my queen, my mate, my soul. The air thickened with power, raw and suffocating. The sun charged, fueled by guilt and obsession. The father met him with centuries of strength and fury. Their wolves collided, shaking the very foundation of the pack house. Claws ripped through flesh, Growls echoed like thunder, and the pack gathered outside, torn between loyalty to their king and their prince. I stood frozen, my heart breaking as blood stained the marble floor. They weren't just fighting for love, they were fighting for dominance, for pride, for the right to claim me as their own. I screamed for them to stop, but my voice was lost in the chaos of snapping jaws and shattering walls. The night had come when love turned into war. And I realized one horrifying truth. No matter who won, someone I cared for would be destroyed. When the blood dried and the growls faded, silence fell over the pack like a dark omen. Both father and son were wounded, their eyes locked on me, not with love this time, but with questions that demanded answers. And that's when she came. The old seer, draped in midnight robes, entered the throne room with eyes clouded by ancient power. "This war was written long before you drew breath," she whispered, her voice shaking the walls more than their claws had. I trembled as she placed her hands on me. Her voice echoed in my soul. "You were never meant for either of them. The moon goddess marked you for a destiny far greater, but bound in blood and tragedy. The Alpha King and his son were fated to love you, yes, but you were destined to break their dynasty." Gasps filled the hall. The seer continued, "One will die by your choice. The other will live, but not with you. Your heart belongs not to mate bonds or power, but to the freedom you've been denied. You are the harbinger of a new era, and your destiny will destroy this kingdom if you do not walk the path the goddess has set." The Alpha King staggered back, pain flickering in his eyes. His son's jaw clenched, rage and sorrow mixing as the prophecy hung over us like a death sentence. And in that moment, my heart broke all over again. Because loving either of them wasn't just forbidden. It was a curse that would doom us all. The seer's prophecy haunted me every waking moment. I thought being rejected was the worst pain I'd ever feel. I thought being desired by the Alpha King was a blessing and a curse. I thought being claimed by him would finally make me whole. But I was wrong. Every path I walked was another set of chains. The mate bond still throbbed inside me like a phantom limb, pulling me toward the one who hurt me. The Alpha King's claim burned on my skin, a constant reminder that my freedom was just an illusion. The pack whispered louder now, "Queen, traitor, cursed one," while father and son's feud poisoned the air I breathed. I loved them in different ways, yet neither love could save me. One night, I stood at the edge of the moonlit lake, the same place where I'd been rejected, the same place the Alpha King swore I'd never be alone again. But as I looked at my reflection, I saw it clearly. I wasn't free. Not from the bond, not from the throne, not even from my own heart. The goddess gave me a destiny, but no escape. And I began to wonder if true freedom meant walking away from both of them, even if it broke all three of us beyond repair. The war between father and son ended not with blood, but with a choice only I could make. I stood before the moon goddess altar, the place where my journey began, my heart raw and torn. I thought love meant surrendering myself to someone else, my mate, my king, my destiny. But I finally understood. True love couldn't come from chains, jealousy, or fear. It had to come from freedom. I turned to the Alpha King. His eyes, once filled with possessive fire, softened with a pain he could not hide. He loved me, but his love demanded too much of me. I turned to the one who had rejected me, his regret too late, his bond still pulling at my soul. And then I turned inward. For the first time, I chose myself. "I am not your prize," I whispered. "I am not your Luna, your queen, or your possession. I am me. And I will never let anyone define my worth again." The bond that tied me to my mate cracked, and this time I broke it by choice. The Alpha King bowed his head. He did not stop me. Perhaps at last he understood. I walked into the dawn alone, but not lonely. The love I thought I needed from others was always within me. I found strength, peace, and a new kind of freedom, the kind that no throne or bond could ever give. And as the sun rose, I smiled. For the first time, my soul felt whole. Months had passed since I chose freedom. I built a new life in a distant pack, far from the whispers and scars of my past. But peace never lasts long in a world ruled by alphas. One night, under a blood-red moon, a messenger arrived at my door. "The Alpha King is dying," he said, "and he's calling for you." My heart pounded. Had he finally let go? Or was this one last attempt to pull me back into his world? And what of my former mate? Rumors swirled, of a new Luna at his side, but also of his relentless search for me. I thought my story had ended when I walked into the sunrise that day, but fate had other plans. The moon goddess wasn't finished with me, and neither were they. The night was still when the vision came. I had left the Alpha King's pack behind, wandering the borderlands with nothing but the sound of my own heartbeat to remind me I was alive. But under the silver glow of the full moon, the air shifted. Heavy, divine, unearthly. A blinding light enveloped me, and suddenly I wasn't standing on grass anymore. I was on a shimmering lake made of moonlight, stars swirling above and below. A woman stood before me, cloaked in silver, her eyes glowing like galaxies. "Child of two bonds," she spoke, her voice echoing in my soul. "Do you know what you have done?" My throat closed. I never asked for any of this. Elias rejected me. Lucian claimed me. I only wanted to survive. Her gaze pierced me. "Survival is not without consequence. You broke the sacred order of mates. You chose forbidden love. Now you must face the weight of your choices." Around me, visions of my past played in the sky. Elias's cruel rejection, Lucian's burning claim, the bloodshed that followed. My knees buckled under the weight of guilt and love intertwined. "What do you want from me?" My voice trembled. "A trial." The moon goddess raised her hands. "You must choose if you will bind yourself to destiny or carve your own path, but know this. Either way, there is a price." Out of the mist, two wolves emerged, one black as night with golden eyes, Elias, one silver with a crown of moonlight, Lucian. They circled me, both snarling. "You must confront the truth of your heart," the goddess said. "Not who desires you, not who claims you. Who are you when no one holds your chains?" My chest ached. Could I even answer that? Could I face what I truly wanted? The trial had. When I woke from the moon goddess's realm, my body ached as if lightning had carved its way through my veins. The moonlight trial hadn't been just a dream. It had left a mark. I sat up and saw it. A silvery scar across my chest, glowing faintly, as though the goddess herself branded me with the truth. My heart carried not one bond, but two, Elias and Lucian, and the moon goddess made sure I could never forget it. Each beat of my heart burned with conflicting fire. When I thought of Elias, I felt the phantom pull of the mate bond, once rejected, now clawing to return. When I thought of Lucian, the Alpha King, my body trembled with the intoxicating mix of love, fear, and forbidden devotion. "You can't serve two moons," the moon goddess's words echoed in my mind. "One light will always cast a shadow." I stumbled through the forest until I reached a stream. As I looked into the water, I didn't see the girl I once was. I saw a woman torn between two worlds. The scar glowed brighter when I touched it, and an image flashed before my eyes. Lucian on a throne drenched in blood, and Elias standing over him, eyes hollow with grief. The vision made me gasp. Was this a warning? Was my love destined to destroy them both? Suddenly the wind shifted. I felt a presence behind me, a familiar scent of cedarwood and regret. "You've changed." Elias's voice came, raw and unsteady. And yet, you still look like mine." I froze. His golden eyes flickered to my glowing scar. His jaw tightened. "What did she do to you?" His voice was low, dangerous. "What did the moon goddess show you?" Before I could answer, the earth trembled under the weight of another arrival. Lucian. The Alpha King stepped out of the shadows, his silver crown glinting in the moonlight. His gaze swept over my scar, and his lips curved into a dark smile. "She didn't have to show me anything," Lucian said. "I already knew she was meant for me." And just like that, the two bonds inside me roared to life, colliding like storm and fire. My scar burned, my heart screamed, and I realized the moon goddess's trial wasn't over. It was just beginning. The forest had become my refuge, but it was no longer a sanctuary. I had left the Alpha King and my mate behind, but their shadows clung to me like a second skin. Every night, the glow of my scar reminded me that the moon goddess had changed me forever. I was no longer just a girl who had been rejected or claimed. I was something else, something dangerous, something powerful. Word of my defiance spread faster than wildfire. Outcasts, exiled wolves, and packless wanderers began to appear at the edges of my territory, drawn to the aura of strength they sensed in me. They whispered my name like a legend, the Rogue Queen. One evening, as the silver moon rose, a group of wolves bowed before me in the clearing. Their leader, a tall, scarred wolf named Kale, stepped forward. "We've come to serve you," he said, voice steady but eyes wary. "We've been cast out, betrayed, hunted, and you—" He gestured to my glowing scar. "You survived both the mate bond and the king. You survived when no one else could. We want to follow you." I felt a surge of emotion, a mix of pride and caution. My heart still beat with echoes of Elias and Lucian, but for the first time, it also beat for me. "If you follow me," I said, voice firm, "know this. I answer to no alpha, no pack, and no prophecy, only to myself." The wolves nodded. In that moment, the forest seemed to breathe with us, the trees bending in silent approval. I realized then that the moon goddess's trial had not just tested me, it had forged me. The Rogue Queen wasn't a title the world had given me. I had claimed it, and with it came a new pack, a new power, and a new purpose. Yet even as I embraced this freedom, I could not shake the feeling that something, or someone, was watching. The scars of the past, and the two bonds still lingering within me, had not been forgotten. I was free, but the game was far from over. Your heroine's independence and leadership, the formation of a new pack of outcasts, giving her agency beyond the Alpha King and Elias, foreshadows future threats, setting up the story's next escalation. The wind carried whispers that night, sharp as claws. From the edge of the rogue territory, a shadow moved, a presence older, darker, and far more dangerous than either Lucian or Elias. I sensed it before I saw it. The hairs on my neck rose as the temperature dropped. Wolves in my pack stirred, growling low in warning. "He's coming," Kale murmured, eyes scanning the tree line. "The Dark Alpha, exiled decades ago. They say he never forgave the old council for casting him out. And now, he's coming for you." I clenched my fists. The rogue pack looked to me, their loyalty unshakable, but I could feel the tension. My scar pulsed under the moonlight, a reminder of the moon goddess's trial, of the two bonds still lingering inside me, of the power I now held. From the shadows he emerged. His wolf form was immense, black as midnight, eyes burning crimson. His aura radiated dominance, hunger, and malice. "So, the Rogue Queen has finally revealed herself," he growled. "I should have known the moon goddess would create something interesting." My pack tightened around me, but I didn't flinch. I had survived Lucian's obsession, Elias's jealousy, and the trials of the moon goddess. You will not take my pack, I said, stepping forward. I answer to no alpha but myself. The dark alpha's laugh was low and cruel, bold, foolish, and deliciously defiant. But power like yours demands a master, and I intend to claim it, or destroy it. The tension crackled in the night. I glanced at Kyle, at the wolves I had gathered, and felt the fire ignite inside me. If you want war, you will get it. But know this. I am not the girl either your world or your legend wanted me to be. I am the rogue queen, and I fight for my pack. The dark alpha snarled and leapt forward, a shadow among shadows. My pack charged with me at the forefront, claws and fangs gleaming in the moonlight. This was not just a battle for survival, it was a test of everything I had become. And deep inside, I knew that this war would force me to finally confront the lingering bonds of both Elias and Lucian, and decide once and for all who, or what, I truly was. An ancient enemy, a rogue alpha king exiled long before Lucian's reign, rises and wants you for your newfound power. He threatens war not only on your rogue pack, but also on Lucian and Elias's pack. The father and son are forced to face you again, not as a prize, but as the only one who can stop this enemy. The battlefield was quiet after the storm of the Dark Alpha's assault. Ash and silvered fur littered the ground, but my pack, my family, stood strong, bruised but unbroken. I wiped the blood from my hands and felt the familiar thrum of my scar beneath my skin. Elias appeared first, stepping from the shadows. His golden eyes softened as they landed on me. You've grown, he admitted, voice low. I see now. You were never mine to claim. Lucian followed, silver and commanding, yet his eyes no longer burned with obsession. I was wrong to think possession was love, he confessed. I wanted to protect you, but I see now that I almost destroyed you in the process. I looked at them both. The mate bonds inside me pulsed, two hearts tethered to mine, but they no longer felt like chains. Instead, they were threads of memory, reminders of love and pain, lessons learned. Then, the moon goddess's voice echoed softly in my mind. The bonds are not broken, but they may be reforged, not by force, but by choice. I closed my eyes, listening to my own heart. I felt the weight of the past, the fire of the present, and the quiet promise of the future. I realized that true mate bond was never about chains, claims, or power. It was about freedom and choice. When I opened my eyes, I took a deep breath. I choose me. I choose the life I fought to build. But if a bond is to exist, it will be one of mutual respect, love, and freedom, not fear. Lucian bowed his head, understanding in his silver eyes. Elias stepped back, finally at peace with letting go, and for the first time, the three of us were free from the past's chains. In the quiet aftermath, I felt a gentle warmth touch my hand. Not a command, not a claim, but a presence. The moon goddess had left her blessing. The mate bond could now exist, but only on my terms. I looked out at my pack, the rogue wolves who had become my family, and smiled. I was the rogue queen. I was free. I was loved, not forced, not stolen. And in that moment, beneath the silver glow of the moon, I knew. My soul had finally found the love it truly deserved. The scar on my chest faded slightly, no longer a mark of pain, but a symbol of triumph. I had survived rejection, obsession, and war. I had built my own path, and the mate bond, reforged by choice rather than destiny, was now a reflection of who I was, strong, independent, and unshakably free. This chapter wraps up the emotional resolution of both Elias and Lucian's bonds, the empowerment and independence of the heroine, the final blessing from the moon goddess, giving the mate bond a positive chosen form. A satisfying cinematic conclusion that honors the dark romance, tension, and growth of the saga. The moon rose swollen and crimson, its shadow creeping across the sky. Tonight was no ordinary full moon. It was a lunar eclipse, a rare event said to heighten wolf powers and stir chaos in pack politics. I stood atop the cliffs overlooking my rogue territory, the wind whipping through my hair, and felt the weight of responsibility settle like armor on my shoulders. Kale approached, his scarred face shadowed in the eclipse's dim glow. "Queen, the neighboring packs, they know of your rise," he said, his voice tense. "Some call it a threat, some an opportunity. But one thing is certain. The eclipse will stir unrest. Wolves will act without reason." I clenched my fists. "I've fought for my freedom. I will not let my pack be crushed by politics or fear." From the distance, I sensed movement. Shapes slipping through the darkness, wolf eyes glinting red and gold. These were emissaries from rival packs come to test me. If they underestimated me, it could mean war. "I want to meet them," I said, turning to Kyle. "Tonight, under the eclipse, not as a rogue-hunted girl, but as the rogue queen." The emissaries arrived, their alpha leading a massive black wolf, his presence radiating dominance. "So this is the one they call the rogue queen," he said, voice low and measured. "I've heard tales of her, defying kings, surviving wars, and binding wolves to her cause. Impressive, but dangerous." I stepped forward, letting the eclipse's shadow fall across my face. "Dangerous is one word," I said, voice steady, "but I seek only peace. Respect my pack, and no one will be harmed. Cross us, and you will feel the consequences of your arrogance." The alpha studied me for long moments, then nodded once. "I respect courage and power. The eclipse favors the strong, and I see strength in you. Let this meeting mark an alliance, not war." As they left, I exhaled, the tension in my body easing. The eclipse continued overhead, the sky painted crimson and silver. I realized something. My journey was no longer just about surviving bonds or battles. It was about shaping my destiny, leading a pack, and commanding respect without fear. The scar on my chest tingled, a reminder of the bonds that had tested me. But now, in the shadow of the eclipse, I was not a pawn of fate. I was the rogue queen, and my power had only begun to rise. The wind carried whispers that night, cold and sharp like distant teeth. Even with the eclipse behind us and the neighboring packs now allies, peace did not come. Shadows, both literal and figurative, slipped across my territory. I sensed them first in the forest, figures cloaked in dark fur, moving silently, watching. My pack stirred, growls low and cautious, but it was more than just rivals. These were ghosts from my past. Wolves I had known, wolves I had trusted, and wolves I had failed to save. Kyle approached, his hand resting lightly on the hilt of his dagger. "Queen, I sense them. They've come for more than territory. They've come for you." I swallowed, heart pounding. Memories flared unbidden. Elias's rejection, Lucian's obsession, the Dark Alpha's attack. Faces of betrayal and pain flashed through my mind. "Show yourself," I commanded, voice steady despite the fear twisting in my gut. From the shadows emerged an old enemy, a wolf I had once considered a friend, exiled for treachery long ago. His red eyes glinted in the moonlight. "So, the rogue queen survives," he sneered. "I see the bonds you bore didn't kill you, but they may yet break you. You have power now, but do you have loyalty?" I stepped forward, feeling the scar on my chest pulse, a constant reminder of the moon goddess's trial. My pack is loyal because I protect them. I answer to no alpha but myself. I am not the girl who ran. I am the queen who survives. The shadowed wolf snarled and leapt forward. My pack surged with me, fangs and claws flashing. But the fight was not only physical. I felt the echoes of the past inside me. Every bond, every betrayal, every scar tested me. As I struck the final blow, sending the enemy retreating into the night, I realized the truth. Shadows of the past would always linger, but they only had the power I allowed them. My freedom was my own, and my heart, scarred and tested, would decide its own path. That night, as the moon bathed the forest in silver, I swore an oath, not to any alpha, not to destiny, not even to love, but to myself. No shadow can bind me again. I am the rogue queen. I am free. The dawn was quiet, a pale wash of silver over the rogue pack's territory. For the first time since I had left Lucian and Elias behind, I allowed myself a moment of stillness. But silence did not bring peace. My heart still carried the weight of two bonds, two loves, and the memories of betrayal and obsession. I walked along the edge of the forest, where the scarlet leaves whispered in the wind, and let the memories come freely. Elias's golden eyes, filled with regret. Lucian's silver gaze, a mix of desire and control. Both had shaped me, broken me, and yet, both had taught me what it meant to survive and to love. I closed my eyes, breathing deeply. The moon goddess's voice returned, soft and guiding. Your heart remembers, but it does not belong to them. Face it, and you shall be free. I let myself call their names silently, feeling the pulse of each bond. I felt Elias's fiery love, the one that had been rejected but never extinguished. I felt Lucian's intense devotion, dark and consuming, yet protective. The emotions collided inside me, threatening to consume my newfound peace. I cannot deny you, I whispered to the shadows of my memories, but I am no one's possession. I am mine. That night, I climbed a hill overlooking the forest and my pack. The wind tugged at my hair, the moon rising to crown me in silver light. I raised my arms, feeling the lingering energy of the mate bonds, and for the first time, I let them go, not in rejection, but in acceptance. I forgave Elias for the pain of rejection and the chaos that followed. I forgave Lucian for his obsession and possessiveness, and I forgave myself for letting their shadows define me for so long. The scar on my chest tingled, fading to a soft silver glow. I understood now that love does not demand chains or war. It thrives in freedom, trust, and choice. When I returned to the pack, my heart felt lighter. My rogue wolves sensed it too, following with loyalty, not fear. I had faced my heart and reckoned with every bond, every memory, every piece of my soul. And in that reckoning, I found something rare: clarity, strength, and the courage to love on my own terms. That night, under the watchful gaze of the moon, I whispered, I am free, I am whole, and I will never let anyone, not even love, control me again. The forest was alive with movement, but not of prey or predator. It was the movement of negotiation and cautious trust. Packs that had once been rivals now approached the clearing, bearing gifts and greetings, their alpha leaders stepping forward with measured respect. I stood at the center, Scar glowing faintly in the moonlight, the rogue queen fully realized. My pack flanked me, eyes sharp, muscles coiled, but calm. We had survived wars, obsessions, and betrayals. Tonight, we would survive diplomacy. I am glad you came, I said, voice carrying clearly across the clearing. We have faced darkness, rejection, and bloodshed. Now it is time to build something stronger. Together. One alpha stepped forward, tall and broad, black fur shining under the moon. We have watched you grow, he said. You have survived trials that would have destroyed most packs. We seek alliance, not war. I studied them carefully. Alliances were delicate. Trust could be broken with a single mistake. But I had learned to read loyalty, fear, and ambition in the eyes of wolves. Then you shall have it, I said, spreading my arms wide. Join with my pack. Share strength, share territory, share knowledge. But know this: betrayal will not be tolerated. Heads nodded, growls of approval mingling with cautious murmurs. I saw in their eyes the same thing I had felt in myself after the moon goddess's trial. The power of choice, the courage to step into your own destiny, and the freedom to forge your path. As the night deepened, the alliances were sealed, not with chains, fear, or forced loyalty, but with mutual respect, trust, and the shared goal of survival and growth. My rogue pack cheered softly, a mix of relief and pride, knowing that under my guidance, we were no longer a scattered group of outcasts. I took a deep breath, looking at the scar on my chest, the faint glow of the moon goddess's blessing still pulsing. I realized then that power without wisdom could destroy, but power tempered with choice could build kingdoms. Tonight, the rogue queen had proven something to herself and to the world. She could lead, protect, and thrive, not as a pawn, not as a prize, but as a queen in her own right. And under the silver gaze of the full moon, I knew that the final chapter of my journey, where freedom, love, and destiny converged, was close at hand. The night sky stretched endlessly above, bathed in silver moonlight. My rogue pack stood beside me, eyes alert, bodies tense, but not with fear. With every trial, every battle, every heartbreak, we had grown stronger. Tonight, I felt the calm after the storm, the quiet that follows storms of blood and betrayal. The moon goddess appeared before me, radiant and serene, her presence more comforting than commanding this time. "You have walked through fire and shadow, child of bonds and choice," she said. "You have survived those who claimed you, those who desired you, and even the shadows of your own heart. Now you may claim the freedom that was always yours." I looked at my pack, my family, and smiled. Freedom was not just the absence of chains. It was the power to choose my path, my love, my destiny. I felt the lingering echoes of Elias and Lucian in my heart, not as chains, but as lessons, reminders of love, passion, and danger, now woven into who I had become. Elias stepped forward first, eyes golden but gentle. "You've become someone extraordinary," he said quietly. "I see now that love cannot own, it must honor. And I honor you, even if I am not the one you choose." Lucian followed, silver and regal, yet calm. "I too have learned," he admitted. "Obsession is not love. You have freed yourself from us both. And in doing so, you are stronger than I ever imagined." I took a deep breath, feeling the glow of my scar pulse faintly, now a symbol of empowerment, not pain. "I have loved, I have survived, and I have chosen myself," I said. "The bonds I carry now are forged not by force, but by respect, choice, and freedom." The moon goddess nodded. "Then go, rogue queen. Lead your pack, protect your people, and walk your path without fear. Love may come, but it will come freely, and your soul will remain your own." The wind carried her blessing as she vanished, leaving me under the moonlight, surrounded by those who trusted me, and the quiet whispers of the forest that had become home. For the first time, I felt complete. The rogue pack that once gathered in desperation now thrived under my leadership. The scars I carried, physical and emotional, were no longer marks of suffering, but medals of survival, courage, and sovereignty. I closed my eyes, letting the silver moonlight wash over me. My heart, once torn between rejection, desire, and obsession, now beat in perfect rhythm with my soul. I was the rogue queen. I was free. I was whole. And under the eternal gaze of the moon, I knew that true love, true power, and true freedom always begin within oneself.